We are on a theme of baby flies. This one is the baby belly scratcher minnow. And we were realizing that it's been a while since we've done this fly. It's morphed into a whole bunch of different variations. And this one's just kind of a micro version that works really, really well. This one is tied with a fulling mill streamer stripper hook in size 6. And this hook is phenomenal. It's Teflon coated, razor sharp, and really, really good for streamer stuff. I use them in size 1 and 2 a lot as well. Anyway, in true belly scratcher form, we're going to attach a bead first. On the other ones, there was a chenille body, and we've had to scale everything down on this fly so that it kind of matches the proportion. So, okay, so I've just dressed my hook, and you have to dress these Teflon hooks or else your thread can slide all over the place. So I'm just going to take some articulation wire and tie it in right around the midpoint of this hook and really tie it in well. I just have 70 denier thread because I like to have a thinner thread when I'm tying the head in. And then I'm going to take a 3.8 millimeter tungsten bead and I'll just tie that in right here. And the reason I don't just string the bead onto the hook is because this will make it ride upside down. And that's what you want. I mean, a lot of times when you're fishing over weed beds, you need something that will ride upside down so it doesn't snag as much. Or, you could even add another one of these beads to make this a super heavy, like little small bayfish pattern. So once you have that tied in, make sure you double that over. Lots of thread wraps here, and then you can trim this off. Okay, and as you go over that cut end, which I will, don't put a lot of pressure on your thread because it will just cut your thread. Okay, a key here also is to super glue these thread wraps, because if you don't, they will kind of unravel and pop that bead off. Okay, now the biggest major change between this and the normal belly scratcher minnow is I'm not going to use any type of zonker strip. Rabbit, squirrel, mink, whatever, it's all kind of a little bit too bulky. So I'm going to use this Spay Hackle with Chickaboo patch. You can see it's a pelt product from Whiting. And up here on the top of the patch, it's really fluffy marabou. It's really good for like the mini complex twist or buggers or things like that. But as you get down here, it's longer stringy fibers like this. And the key with that, the reason I like this is because it just stays kind of in line and it won't puff out when you pause this fly. It's still going to have plenty of movement in the water, but it's going to kind of stay straight. So I'm going to tie in a tail of that. Just about like that. And then I'll wrap forward a little bit, and I'm going to tie in just kind of another tail, but kind of layer that down. I'm going to moisten that just a little bit. Okay, now one of the keys to a little bait fish is it's got to be pretty transparent, and it's, if you have the little purple flash in there or bluish looking flash, it looks like little blood vessels in the fish. So my favorite material to mimic that is UV ice dub in Callibatis. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to take some of it and dub it directly on to the hook. up to about right there. So I've just kind of encapsulated that whole thing. And then I'm going to take another glob of the dubbing, and instead of dubbing it onto my thread, I'm just going to kind of put it on the hook and then mash it down on both sides of the hook. So I just have a bunch of dubbing right here. I'm going to do 2 loose wraps and then just pull tight, and then pull these front fibers back and kind of wrap over the points of it. That's clump style dubbing, and it gives you a nice longer kind of buggy dubbing body. So now what I'm going to do is take some Velcro, and I'll brush that out. Uncle Ken says you just fish them just like that, but we're not going to do that. Okay, so the next step is to tie in the head. And so keep in mind that the fly is going to ride upside down. So I'm going to use cream colored Bruiser Blend Junior and Alpha Wolf colored Bruiser Blend Junior to create this head. Okay, so the cream is going to be on the bottom, so I'll put that one on first. And I'm going to tie that in just on one side of the hook shank with a few wraps, just like that. And then I'm going to turn it over, and I'll tie in the Alpha Wolf on the other side. What I'm doing is I'm kind of aligning the fibers of the Bruiser Blend before I tie that in. So then I end up with a nice clump like that. It's pretty easy to do. Okay, once that's all tied in, I'm going to fan out the Bruiser Blend so that when I tie it back, it's going to cover up the sides of the hook. So just like that. So I'll take that front section and just kind of push that back over and wrap that down with maybe 2 wraps of thread. And the bottom one, I'll lift my thread up, pull it under, and wrap that down as well. So we've got our head tied down. Now I'll just advance my thread forward and whip finish it right behind the eye. Okay, looks like my sides are covered pretty well. So what I'll do is I'll just take a little comb and I'll brush out the fibers. So that they're nice and even. I can use my finger to kind of slim those down. And the reason I don't use dumbbell eyes on this, because that would also make the fly ride upside down, but the reason I don't use dumbbell eyes is because it makes the head way too bulky. I want it just to be really slender like that, like a little minnow. Okay, so now we're going to give it a little color job. I'm going to take just a brown Sharpie. You can use the brown chart pack as well. It lasts maybe a little bit longer than a Sharpie. And I'll color that back a little bit, maybe blend it as I go back. Take my fingers and blend. Then I'll make a black stripe down the top. This is going to be kind of like a chub variation. Blend that in as well. And then I'll take like a dark yellow or a goldenrod type color and just color in right here under the gill plate. Alright, so we've got that nice and blended. And then I'll make a little gill with some red. So our fly is looking like a little bait fish at this point. Okay, we've been playing with different eyes now. So on the eyes on this one, we're going to go a little bit bigger and a little bit more visible. These are super cool Big B does these a lot in the shop, so props to you, Big B. Keep up the good work. Dude, suck. Oh, you got super. I just spilled super glue on Curtis's table. Like bad.
That foam is now permanent.
I just permanently glued. You're going to have to put this on the outtakes afterward. I just spilled about half a bottle of Zap-A-Gap on Curtis's desk. But what do I care? Not my desk. I almost glued my fingers together though. Okay, so for the eyes on this one, we're going to go a little bit bigger and brighter. One key with the eyes is if you use a tool to smash them down like a tooth, or see this forceps, no teeth. You don't want teeth in there or else it'll destroy your fly. And just kind of smash that down. And that creates kind of a flat foundation for me to stick those eyes to. So we're going to use 7/32 fluorescent 3D eyes. And we'll just stick them on both sides just like that. Now to start the process with this and to create a fully solid UV head, I'm going to take some flow and stick it down right between those eyes. And then I'm going to kind of smash those together as I cure. Now that's not a very good adhesive. Those eyes would pop right off. So I'm going to cover the whole thing with UV resin. Need to do that again real quick. Okay, once I have those eyes just kind of tacked in place with flow, I'm going to take UV thick and I'm going to build up the head. I'm going to encapsulate the whole eyes, fill up the gaps in between the eyes, and then move it around with a bobbin. So the best way to do this is just to put a big old glob of it like that on, and make sure you're rotating your vise. If you've got a rotary vise, it makes it a lot easier, and then you can come in here and kind of distribute the glue around. And once you're to this point, it's easier to do this on the near side of me, but you're going to push the resin to the edge of the eye so it barely touches the dubbing on the outside, and it's going to create kind of a seal around that eye to fully lock in that eye. Won't come off if you do this. Plus it looks good. So as you can see, I've got my eyes kind of where I want them to be. And you're just going to tack those, and it will create a full epoxy ball around those eyes. And I'm going to put a little bit more resin on here because it kind of didn't create a round head. Okay, and that's the beauty of the thick, is you can just kind of build up the head as you go. Make sure that it's nice and round and totally sealed. Now the thick resin does leave a little bit of a tack, but that's okay with me because it's definitely the most durable of the resins. So I'm going to take a little bit of flow and just go over that, and this will make a really bulletproof head. Just enough flow to barely cover it up and take away that tack. So there you go, the baby belly scratcher minnow. It's about, maybe half the size as the other one, and it looks good now, but we'll get it wet and put it back in the vise. You can see it's nice and translucent. So there you go. It tapers down perfectly. The little bump in the belly gives it a little bit of minnow fatness, and you can even play with the color of the bead on this fly to you could put like a red bead under it, or pink or purple or something like that to give it a cool effect. Anyway, There is the baby belly scratcher.